So I had to restart this video because my dog was being a little bratty, and I gave her a shoe filled with some treats, just a water boating shoe. So we gave it to her as a chew toy. She likes it. Gives her something to focus on. So if you hear noise, it's the dog. But to revise what I was starting with in the last video, this video came out as a shout out from my Iron Lantern versus Super Soldier video. Check that out if you feel interested. From an Andre Sanders. So Andre, thank you for that. And this is a classic one a lot of people like to do, so I guess it's time for me to throw my hat in the ring on this. And that's Aquaman versus Namor, the Submariner. Now, this fight actually took place during the Secret War fan votes areas that created Amalgamate Comics. And Aquaman won that by fan vote. Not by an actual analysis, this is all fan voting. Hell, Wolverine beat Lobo, and if you actually know Lobo in comparison, Wolverine really wouldn't stand a chance. So, and Hulk beat Superman, all that. It was all just, you can find that stuff. That's what the Iron Lantern versus Super Soldiers battle was. But the interesting problem that is faced when you deal with these characters, that they're so similar that to actually compare them, I just got to basically compare them by what's actually different about them, not by what's similar. So we'll start with that. So let's just get all the stuff that's similar about them out of the way. They're both Atlanteans in their own respective universes. They both can swim, breathe underwater, survive extreme pressure, heat, cold resistance, acute abilities, things along those lines, communicate. All right. So now that I got out of the way, both are large, taller individuals. Namor stands at 6'2", Aquaman 6'1". So he's got an inch on him. But here's the thing: is that Namor is about 278 in terms of weight, whereas Aquaman is 325. Aquaman is nearly 50 pounds heavier than Namor is. So I don't know if it's because it's muscle mass or it's just he's a heavier dude, but he's a heavier individual. Now, granted, that doesn't play a big factor into things, but you could say it plays a little bit of a factor. But then going into things that are about different than them, let's talk about their actual physicality first off. Namor let's start with Aquaman first. In terms of physical strength, there was no actual recorded measurement. There was a couple. Like, he once moved a 25-ton oil rig. Didn't effortlessly do it. But basically, from the sources I could find, is that he's roughly 150 times stronger than a human. Now, it didn't say peak human, didn't say anything like that. But for the sake of this fight, I decided to go with peak human stats. And I had to look it up, and I had to look at basically the strongest person currently in the world. And that went to a Brian Shaw, who was the deadlifting champ, and he deadlifted 985 pounds. So I did the math on that, and times 150. So he was capable, Aquaman, or is capable at this current time, of lifting upwards about 75 tons, which translates into 150,000 pounds. So that's impressive. Namor, as I found, again, no set definition of what his true strength limit is, but he's fought on par with the likes of the Thing. He's matched the Thing in terms of strength. Matched. Didn't necessarily outclass him completely, matched. And in one account, the Thing lifted 30,000 tons, which translates into about 6 million pounds. So, Namor's got him completely outclassed in terms of strength. Durability. Namor has survived things like concussive blasts, explosions, high caliber firepower, things along those lines. Ironically, though, he's got a weird weak spot on his back of his head that seems to either be a certain point on his head or just any, or maybe a come and going thing based on a couple of his other weaknesses that I'll get to later. That he can just be knocked out, like from a lead pipe by a normal human, but whatever. So normal durability, though, he can take blasts normally to the face, all that stuff, explosions. Aquaman can withstand low caliber firepower. He can withstand stabs from like a normal individual, fine, but in terms of durability, if he's not really immersed in water, even while immersed in water, he's not the most durable among the two. So right there, in terms of durability, because he can't withstand a real high caliber fire well. So right there, Namor's got a big endurance and durability advantage. But then I looked up speed. Namor can swim up to 300 knots. Which, I can't remember what that translates into speed, but 300 knots. Aquaman can swim 1,000 knots. Aquaman is 10 times faster than Namor. Also, it should be known, Namor can fly because he's actually a mutant Atlantean, not just a Atlantean, whereas Aquaman is a human Atlantean hybrid. So he's got wings on his heels that help him fly. He can fly at least at the speed of a Air Force jet. So he's got, though, in terms of physicality, Namor's more of the tank between the two of them, but Aquaman is definitely more of the speedster between the two of them. Then we get on to some of their more specific abilities, which they don't have a lot. Namor and Aquaman both used to have some water conjuring abilities on their own, but they don't anymore for some reason. I believe it was driven from some items they don't have. Like, he had a water bearer hand, literally a hand made of water at one point, Aquaman. But moving on, we get into their communication abilities with the wildlife, with the ocean, and Submariner does have that ability to some degree. He can also communicate mentally with Atlanteans, so he's got that interesting thing. So, and then Aquaman has same abilities, but the difference between the two of them, which I'll get to in the actual overall battle of comparative analysis, is that Aquaman does it out of respect. He commands respect. He asks for their help. He doesn't command it in the sense, help me now, and force them. No, he asks them, and they respect him as for that, and they come and help him. Namor doesn't do that as much as I think. But Aquaman also has access to what is called the Clear, which is also called the Green, I believe, with Swamp Thing, which is basically he has this control of all sea life across the sea, primal emotion empathy, where he can even communicate with the primal base instinct that in land animals that used to be when they were aquatic animals, when we evolved from the sea. So he can actually command land animals. Like if he's in Africa, he can command an elephant to help him. That's actually pretty cool, and it's a very interesting ability that Namor does not have. And then we get into, combat abilities. Namor's older than Aquaman, so I think he has more combat experience, but Aquaman's fought alongside the likes of Batman, Superman, Shazam, Flash, Wonder Woman. So he's got a lot of combat experience on his roster too, fighting alongside and probably practicing with these individuals. Then the only other thing we get to is that before we get to their weaknesses, their equipment. Both wield a trident of Poseidon, more or less. Granted, in Namor's case, it's Neptune's trident, which Aquaman had that at one point too, but right now he possesses the trident of Poseidon. So in Namor's case, it's made of enchanted adamantine, which is what adamantine's name is derived of, because adamantine was supposed to be indestructible. It's not indestructible. It's not indestructible. Adamantine is supposed to be indestructible, so we'll have to go with and it's enchanted, so we have to go with the idea that it is indestructible. And it possesses abilities like water manipulation, creating earthquakes through seismic vibration, mystic beams, which range from damage, healing, cursing, transforming things into other things. That's it. That's a unique ability. But it can only do that to sentient beings if they so choose to. So it can't affect Aquaman directly unless he wants to change into something. And it'd have to be something along the lines of what Namor wants him to change into. Then the trident of Poseidon that Aquaman wields is unbreakable. They just said that. It controls water, can create water elementals, bolts of energy, force fields, and earthquakes, and can slice space. And by that, I mean literally the fabric of space. If let's say for instance, this is just an example. I'm not saying this happens in the fight. It might when I get to the actual nouns, but let's say Aquaman literally cuts an arm. This is for those of you who don't understand what I mean when I say it slices space. And I'm certain a lot of people who are watching this know what it means, but for the one who doesn't, if you were to slice, say, your hand off, in any other medical circumstance, you could actually reattach the hand, because the tendons are still there. You reattach space. You literally slice through space. We're not space and time, mind you, but space. You can't reattach it. Literally, the space between those molecules, those atoms, are cut. They're severed. They're gone. You can't reattach that thing. That is gone completely. If you remember Yu Yu Hakusho with Makuro, she literally was able to divide space. She literally created lines that were a barrier. It's basically cutting dimensions, more or less, is what it is. So they say, because I'm reading this, I'm like, okay, what is their abilities and what is this? I'm like, okay, Namor's that. What does his try and do? And then I'm like, oh, damn, that's something Namor already got on his sleeve. So that's going to be that's definitely going to be one of those deciding factors in Aquaman's case. So that's their equipment. Now, he also forgot, he also has the horn of Proteus, which can summon sea monsters and mutates and things along those lines. Excuse me. Now, in terms of their weaknesses, both are susceptible to severe dehydration, especially from being out of the water too long. However, Aquaman seems to be the one who's more prone to it. He seems to dehydrate faster. He can't be out of the water as long. Whereas Namor, it's slow, it's gradual, but he eventually, at his weakest point, he will be basically a little above peak human, more or less, like a little above Captain America. But he's not going to stay out of the water that long. They also both have regeneration that's quickened as long as they're in water. Also, should note that Aquaman has mental telepathy as well. He can communicate with Atlantean sea life. He's got mental. He can dominate someone mentally, mental probes, mind probes, things along those lines. So he's got that at his advantage as well. Now, the key of one of the X factors is the personality they bring into it. Namor also has what is considered an oxygen imbalance. Basically leads to like mood swings, especially hot-headed anger that he's a lot of times prone to. And it seems to be that he needs to spend a certain amount of time in and out of the water to balance this. Otherwise, he can go into fits of rage, more or less. So, whereas Aquaman doesn't have that problem per se. Now, in terms of their personality, as I just said, Namor prone to fits of anger, but he is normally, if he's not in an oxygen imbalance, he's actually pretty level-headed. Now, granted, he's arrogant. He thinks he's the ruler. He will command you, he will boss you around, all that. Whereas Aquaman's definitely a bit more of a compassionate individual. Even in his more hardcore versions of himself, he's definitely a more compassionate individual than Namor. So it all depends, I guess, on what they're fighting for and the reason they're fighting. Now, with all of that being said, let's get to the scenario. Now, let's say, because I can't remember where Atlantis actually exists in either world, let's say this takes place in the middle of the Mediterranean, which would be like you would think is actually kind of a reasonable place that this might take place. Let's say Atlantis is located there. And this is kind of like a Crisis on Infinite Earth scenario, where they both are thrown into this world. Maybe it's more like a melding kind of thing, where Atlantis comes together, the worlds come together, DC and Marvel again. And they gotta fight for who's going to be the king of Atlantis again. So the fight takes off, and immediately Namor is going to have a physical advantage over Aquaman. They're just going to trade blows, and Aquaman's not going to be... Aquaman can take a good punch, but he's definitely going to be at a disadvantage in terms of that. So he's going to back off, going to avoid him for a time being, and he's far faster than Namor, so he's going to be able to avoid his hits and punches, no problem. Namor's going to get irritated by this, decide, okay, I'm going to take this above water, throws his trident, starts making some water manipulation abilities, which Aquaman cancels with his trident. Aquaman's about to try to summon some elementals, but then Namor comes in, rushes in with flight, throws him in the air, and then they start fighting in midair. Now, already Aquaman's going to start being at a disadvantage. He's not near the water, and Namor's keeping him in the air. Namor's also durable enough to survive suborbit drops. So right there, he's maybe going to try to take him out right there and knock him out. But then Aquaman is going to probably use his trident to manipulate water, rush back under to definitely soften the blow, and then blow Neptune back. So right now, they're both standing on the water again. Aquaman's probably a little worse for wear. Namor's probably just more irritated than anything at this point. So then they're going to get into it again, and both are going to try to water manipulate. Both will cancel out. He'll summon water elementals. Aquaman will summon water elementals. Namor's going to cancel those out, so because water manipulation. So they're going to go into a bit of a fisticuffs with their tridents. I think Aquaman might actually hold a slight advantage in terms of that, because, like I said, he hangs around Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman, Shazam, he hangs around all these guys, individuals who are, I would argue, maybe superior in combat to Namor. Namor maybe has experience in combat, but overall, you're talking about an Amazon, a guy who's mastered literally every martial art known to man. Superman has got his own Kryptonian form of martial art, plus he's far more durable, and he's far more powerful than Namor. So overall, I think he's got a hand-to-hand edge, but not by much. So they're going to go back and forth. Namor's going to maybe throw like a force field to block a blow. Aquaman will then probably will rip through the space of the force field, throw Namor off for that. Namor's not going to probably get like decapitated or lose a limb or anything, but he's definitely going to take a hit. And unlike, say, in a normal hit where he could heal water, that's not going to heal up. He might stop the bleeding, but he's not going to be able to heal that up. I was like, what? So then he's like, oh, you know what? Screw this. And summons his horn. Uses his horns, like, I'm sick of this. Just summons his horn, summons a horde, like sea monsters and stuff like that. So a Kraken emerges, a Kraken emerges, and we'll say like an actual, like giant octopus Kraken. Maybe a sea serpent comes out, a couple of mermaids or something like that. As a vast amount of things. And he's gonna say, go forth and take him out. And that's when Aquaman is going to actually throw him for a loop and basically he's going to more or less appeal to them more than the horn appeals to them, because like, I'm not going to fight you and say, I don't want you. He forces you to do this. I want you to live free and ask only for your aid if you will. He's basically going to appeal them out of respect and duty. Now, I don't know if the horn controls the monsters that Namor summons, because it didn't define that, but it does summon them to fight his aid. Namor, from what I can tell, more or less just ask for help and kind of more coerces help from these individuals, whereas Aquaman really does it out of respect. Like, please help me, aid me in this fight, my friends of the sea. Plus, he has access to the clear, emotional empathy, all that. He holds the edge over some sea life manipulation. That's why he beat him in the vote, because a whale came up and smashed him, which made no sense. But at that moment, they're all going to be like, you know what? Yeah. Screw you, Namor. Namor's gonna be like, what? No, fight for me. Summons more, but they all just. So now he's gotta fight all these freaking sea monsters, which I think he can do. But it ain't gonna become easy. He's gotta fight them and Aquaman coming at him with a tray. So he's gonna. A Kraken probably comes, smashes him down. So he's gonna get the crap kicked out of him for a little bit. He's gonna be in the water, heal up a bit. Then Aquaman appears again. It's like, do you give up? It's like, you fool. I am the king of Atlantis. And then he comes out again. Then the mental domination comes. I don't know how strong Namor is in terms of mental defenses. He didn't read anything that he has any real strong immunity towards it, nor does he even have a strong will. So right there, Aquaman's going to start fucking with him, and it's just going to throw him off his game more and more. He's going to do another spatial slice. This time I think he's going to actually cut maybe a hand off. And, I got a message from someone. Okay. Yeah, Mark. I'll deal with that in a little bit. So anyway, my dog is just being silly at the moment. So anyway, yeah, I think actually Aquaman wins this simply because the Triton has an ability that Namor can't readily counter. The spatial, basically, a cut. Plus, Aquaman's far higher manipulation, control, and basically aid of sea life, marine life, and mental abilities. He overall has the edge. Plus, he's fast enough to avoid most of Namor's abilities. So I think I have to give this to Aquaman, is what happens. Because also, Namor's is much more of a selfish individual as opposed to Aquaman, who can be selfish at points, but generally he's fighting for, better causes. So I think I gotta give this, because Namor's definitely stronger. If Namor basically just gets them, if this fight goes on land, Namor beats Aquaman. Even though Aquaman can call for help, maybe like a land animal. There's no land animal on Earth at the moment that could take on Namor. Unless he summons a snake somehow to bite him with, venom and stuff. But even then, I think he probably has, venom immunity and stuff like that because of the sea. Lots of venomous things in the sea. So, if the fight goes on land, I think Namor does win. But I think this fight is going to stay in the ocean is the thing. Because they're both at their strongest in the ocean. So, if it goes... I gotta give it 80 to 20 in favor of Aquaman. 80% because it's gonna mostly stay in the ocean, and I think Aquaman is just going to out strategize, out tactician him. Plus, he's got a bit. Plus, his abilities outrank him in certain ways, such as telepathy, such as animal and marine life communication, and his Triton. That spatial cut is a dangerous thing. So yeah, 80% to Aquaman, 20% to Namor. So yeah, that's my who would win for this week. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I'm gonna actually do a couple more videos that I have to do tomorrow, but I'm gonna be working most of the day tomorrow, so I'm gonna do them now and have them so I can have them out. And one other thing, I have in my list of who would wins a fight between greed-based characters. Now, one of them I'm definitely using is Larfleeze, the Orange Lantern, but I'm having a little issue. I have someone on there, but going over the facts for that fight, I'm like, it seems a pretty no-brainer who's going to win this one if I go this route. So, if you can name a greed-based character, I would appreciate it that I could put against Larfleeze. Please, put that in the comments. I would appreciate it. That way, it would be at least a better analysis of the fight. But otherwise, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And I'll actually be back in a little bit because I got a couple more videos to do. Thanks.